Alrighty then. Doing on something a little bit different today. Don't get used to this. This channel is mostly like the sciency kind of pretending to explain like I know what's going on about different science things and a lot of theoretical speculation. But deep within the heart of this channel's algorithm, I do like monsters and have been at least a lifelong, at least sometime after 5 years old Godzilla fan. Why? Because my first progress report at preschool was like, memes has stopped growling at the other children like a dinosaur and begun to interact with the other children. Apparently, that's an important thing with human development and interaction. But today, we're actually going to be talking about just because I did the season literally premiered early and they gave all the things. It's like, so it premieres Friday, but like, keep your eyes at 9 p.m. that evening on a Thursday. Long story short, that's when I saw on the Twitters people talking about it has come out. So I'm going to be straight up. This is not the normal thing on this channel. Do not like this stuff. Do not subscribe expecting more of this stuff to be coming out. I'll occasionally put it out when we have this chance. Don't share this around at all. All right, that said, let's just jump into it, shall we? All right, so season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. And okay, we're going to be discussing the episode. If you haven't watched the episode, stop watching this and go watch the episode. It's available in the doobly-doo below. You do need to have an Apple TV subscription. They do have a little 7-day free trial. I spent the 12 or 13 bucks. Why? Whatever. I support monster content, especially if it's good. And I think they did a really good job on this. Let me just give a quick 1,000-foot summary here. Basically, it jumps in where we left off on the finale of season 1. Season 1, you had the group finally coming back out of Axis Mundi and everything. And actually, to be fair, they did a really good recap over here. So as we can see, let's see. Will that even show it there? All right. So basically, they go through during the first 5 minutes. Yes, we had the battle between Godzilla and the Ion Dragon. And full disclosure, I think part of the reason this whole thing is, oh, look, it's a new season. I went back, and at least after watching the first episode of season 2, I have a much greater appreciation for season 1. Season 1, I was like, okay, there's a bunch of humans. What's the deal here? And it kind of drew along, and yeah, you had some monster action and everything. This, it literally picks up right as the crew are making their escape. Yep, we have the battle of the Ion Dragon, and yep, we have the reuniting of what is, oh god, is Hiroshi and his mother Keiko. Basically, Keiko was the woman who Lieutenant Shaw ended up losing, wasn't able to hold on to the grip. Him and Bill Randa, and then she fell into Axis Mundi, and she was there for like 59 days, which, according to the time progression of Axis Mundi via the rest of the Earth, yeah, so like 30 something years have gone by, and they pop out right in was it? I think this was right around 2016 here. So this is prior to the events of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Okay. So as they continued there, yep, we had our final shot there of King Kong being not so happy. It's like, why? Kong's just trying to take a nap, and all of a sudden you open up this trans-dimensional gateway to Axis Mundi, letting in who knows what, and you woke Kong up. You wake a man up in his house, he's not going to be too happy, especially if it's a 300-foot tall primate called King Kong. But actually, I do think they did a really good job, because they literally just cut right into that, and they're continuing onward. Okay, we got our little intro there. Where are we? Oh no, they have this action scene where basically Kong ends up tearing up all the infrastructure and everything, and he's seemingly, it looks like, he is targeting humans. That's not a really Kong thing to do unless he's provoked. Now the argument is, you woke a man up, he's very provoked here. Okay, that's totally fine. But you see him like hurling things, it's falling on people. And then you have our protagonists start they're like lifting off. Yeah. Okay, so they're like lifting off in the chopper and everything here. And of course, they're looking over at Kong, and Kong is none too happy. Now we end up forwarding up. We get the cool new intro and everything, and then we end up having following Keiko as she ends up finally waking up in Monarch Outpost number 18. Okay, Monarch Outpost. What is that? That's that cool ship that you see in all the previews and everything. Okay, so she's there and she's kind of going out, and of course it's like, no, relax, relax, Dr. Keiko, relax. Or oh god, what is it? No, Dr. Randa, Dr. Randa, because she was married to Bill Randa. And I think they actually did a pretty good job of going back and forth, doing the back in time stuff or the stuff that occurred in the past and weaving it together in a way that made more sense. Because in the first season, it's like you don't really have the backstory, but then they jump into what's going on in the current season. So, Dr. Dr. Randa, aka Keiko, she ends up getting up and then she ends up going outside and she finds out she's on a big boat and everything. And apparently, the side effect of being in Access Monday for so long leads to people being very groggy. At one point, I think Tim, who we will find out ends up getting an unwanted promotion during this, ends up saying it's something like, well, you're resurfacing, because it's like if you're going from very low water pressure or very high water pressure under the sea, of course, you rise up. Oh God, you're gonna have all these bodily cramps and all that jazz and everything there. It's like, okay, well, let's see. So yeah, we got the big boat, and everything. And again, this should be totally fair use. I'm not playing any of the actual footage. That's how you get yourself in trouble. We're using stilled images from this. So any copyright algorithms out there, fair use, fair use, fair use. There we go. We said it 3 times for maximal retention. Here we'll we're also going to conjecture, and as far as I know, I'm not under any NDA or something. I think some of the folks within the greater kaiju community did have the privilege of watching maybe some of these episodes or maybe the entire season ahead of it. And occasionally I'm hearing some reviews and it's like, that was very carefully crafted language. Now I'm speculating here, but I think some folks are under very heavy NDAs, which, hey, totally fine. Hey, you had the privilege to watch something before the rest of us. God bless you. Have a great time. Just don't let it slip, because remember, a slip of the lip can sink a ship. Obviously not this one, unless it's Titan X, or what was it? I think at one point in the episode they called it the Grand Mara, something like the Great Sea. We'll get into that. So let me rather than just tempting fate the whole way, let's be wary, everybody. Hold on, we have a clip for this. I don't have a fizz with me, but she can be here in Lydia's spirit. Here we go. Buckle up, everybody, because things are going to get scary.
Oh, I know I should be wary. Still I venture someplace scary. Ghostly haunting, I turn loose.
All right. Arbitrary late intros out of the way here. Okay, so once we get back on the ship, they have the standard political human drama, because that never happens at all. So we had all our friends here. Oh God, I'm sorry, I don't know all the different actors and actresses' names. I just remember that we have the executive. Hold on, I'll make this up. Monarch. I can pretend to be a professional. Hold on, let me get the cast list in front of me. Season 2 cast. There we go. Okay, so that is. Oh, come on. Hold on. IMDb. IMDb. See, I can pretend to know how to find these things. All right. There we go. Full casting crew. All right. So that would be actors. There we go. So that is Natalia Verdugo. Yes. Oh, okay. So that was assistant deputy director or temporary assistant deputy director Natalie Verdugo. She's having the discussion with Tim about all this jazz and everything. Now, remember, everyone's just trying to get settled. It's like, well, we're finally out of there. But Colonel Shaw was left behind. A lot of people are big fans of Colonel Shaw because he does have his own following, and he literally is one of the OG Monarch dudes there. Like Monarch is literally the whole legacy of Monsters is supposed to be the whole concept of you had Bill Miranda, you had Keiko, Dr. Miranda, who ends up marrying Bill, and the whole interaction between Colonel Lee Shaw as well. And it actually lines up a lot of other things too. Because at first, like in season one, you're seeing Kate, it's like, oh my God, Kate's like cheating on her own girlfriend and everything. And you're like, oh my God, what is going on here? And they did an excellent job at one point. When they were literally, Kate ends up asking her own father, Hiroshi Miranda, or Hiroshi Randa. Basically, it's like, how can you love two people? It's a beautiful quote where he says, it's not something you choose to, or it's not something you decide to, something along the lines of that. So it's like, well, this seems to just be repeating the family history and everything right there. So the human aspect, they didn't overly dwell on it. They didn't need to have the extended scenes. They had the communication through some of the scenes, and I think it was actually done very well. Let's see, where are we? Okay, so we eventually go back in time to basically this is in like the 50s here. So now they're in South America and they're following legends and tales because as we know from our good friend Bill Miranda right there, that's how he got on the Eye on Dragons trails. He was looking for the truth. Basically, why do people tell the stories that they do? Why do they say that there's a dragon flying along with lightning and everything? And having gone back and actually started watching the first season again, I did get a bit more of an appreciation for that just because I noticed a little bit more. I'm like, all right, well, Keiko had the atmospheric radiation fallout chart, and it's like, okay, we're seeing these trails. Bill takes what he said was the migratory pattern that seemed like birds, and he overlay it. It's like, well, this data seems to corroborate really well. Now again, it's plot armor there, but it lines up at least on a logical finding. And then I also learned because my original thought is when I watched this, I'm like, was the Ion Dragon in the ship? And then upon watching, it's like, wait a second. No. You kind of see the Aurora thing. And then it's like Colonel Shaw, as he's driving away after Keiko's like, bye, soldier boy. He ends up rushing back to help save them because he realizes, these crazy scientists might actually be onto something. And it was his duty to actually aid the good doctor. So he goes back, he saves them. But at this point, they're on a small boat. Basically, everybody seems to speak Spanish. I think it's down in Chile. That sounds about right. But they're in South America there, and they're going along, and they get off the boat. It's like, oh, is this enough money? And the captain's like, get this money and get the hell out of there. And as they're walking along, it's just like, they're just Seems to be a very quiet place. Everyone just kind of looks at them and then looks away. And it's like Colonel Shaw's like, I don't think they want us to be here. I don't think they want us to be here at all. And that's probably a very accurate thing. All right, hold on, here we go. We have the ominous, the birds. What are the birds telling us? Well, the birds are flying away, so obviously something terrible is about to happen. Uh, so at least within the flashback here, they end up going into this town. They see this weird idol and everything. It's like, oh, what's this weird thing in the center of town? It's seems to got all these symbols and everything. What's going on here? There's a this little altar. It appears to be covered in blood. It's obviously where they clean their fish upon this extraordinarily uh, fancy symbol where is it? Let me get a little close up. There we go. Uh, come on. There we go. All right. So we're looking down at this. It's like it's covered in blood. I'm sure that's just where they clean their fish. Okay, and then this leads to them going into a bar, and I think this was done very well. Just because as they're going to the bar, everybody just kind of looks at them. It's like Colonel Shaw's like, maybe Keiko should wait outside. She's like, do you want to wait outside? And it's like again, it's like it was in the 50s, and all of a sudden a bunch of strangers start walking in, and then of course one of the things consistent with Colonel Shaw is like you gotta learn to read the room. And the room is basically telling him that nobody wants them to be there right now. And at one point, Bill literally sees where is it? It's the little crustacean on the wall. He sees a little crustacean. He's like, "Whoa! I need to get a picture of this." This dude right here is like, "Oh no, you ain't, Essay. No, we don't want to." He ends up pulling a knife out. And oh, I think I may have just got another little plot point there. That's interesting because Colonel Shaw, like 50 something years later, ends up having what looks to be a very similar knife. So I'm just making that connection right now. But long story short is Bill sees the crazy little thing on the wall in the bar. Hold on, let's get to the crazy thing on the wall. Oh, this guy here. There we go. All right. So yeah, okay, that's uh, okay. It's very angry, very angry. Okay. Long story short is they see the scarab on the wall there. Basically, as you saw from the previews, all the little creatures running around, the little like kind of horseshoe crab things, and of course it's like, oh, maybe it's just a fall and stuff. Seem to be in pretty good, good condition and everything. But let me undo that for a second, so I so I don't abuse my ability to show too much stuff. Okay, so all right, got it. So let's go back. We want to be respectful of copyright. So long story short is Bill sees that crustacean on the wall, and the first thing he does is, oh wow, great. Oh, can I take a picture? He starts pulling out his camera and everything. And everybody in that bar is like, what the hell are you doing, son? That starts all this drama and everything. And again, Colonel Shaw is just like, dude, you've gotta read the room. You're leading with the camera all the time. It gets you in trouble. And it harkens back to how they first met because like Bill Randa's like going around in like the desert in like the Philippines and everything there, or the jungle there. And then Colonel Shaw hears this movement. And then as he comes out, he's literally like got his camera pointed right at Keiko. And like Colonel Shaw pulls his firearm on. It's like, what the heck are you doing here? Because his job is guard duty. So the same thing ends up happening again and again. So it's like, at least it's character building. It's at least consistent. Is it goofy? Is it corny? Sure, but it's Bill Rand is kind of a corny character. He's like, listen, I have crazy ideas. I think we should be open to everything. And to be fair, if you were the lone survivor of of a ship that literally got your crewmates were killed by a dragon, carried 9,000 miles somehow into the center of an island between its mountainous peaks, I can understand that. And also nearly getting killed by the same dragon that returns and as Colonel Shaw and Keiko and everything help rescue you and you run away and you almost got jumped by the Ion Dragon. Yeah, it's going to lead to some very interesting stuff. So, long story short, while they're there, a very nice senorita, the bartender, ends up saying, you guys are all in danger here. Nobody likes you. Bad things are going to happen. And she reveals that what they are, quote unquote, looking for. And she brings them down to a cave where you end up seeing all these hieroglyphics and stuff of Titan X. Titan X. What is Titan X? I don't know. Like I said before, the general words that I heard were Grand Mara. So great water or great ocean. And apparently the folks within that village have been praying for their quote unquote God or Titan to return to help bless them with a bountiful sea. Okay. Now, apparently they've been waiting for a while. And once we fast forward to the present day, around 2016 or so, yeah, apparently, they're not going to have to wait much longer. So let's go through here. So long story short, what ends up happening is we have some flashbacks and oh, actually, no, this is Colonel Shaw right now. He ends up falling. So we pick up an Access Monday where we left off as he basically fell and he's like, all right, I managed to rescue Keiko, in which he straight up said, it's like, of course, that's everything because he loves her. He loves her. It was part of that weird love triangle where it's like, all right, so Keiko did marry Bill, but then again, before that, like, didn't Keiko accompany Lieutenant Shaw to the military ball and everything? And oh, just one quick note is after Tim ends up meeting up with Keiko, aka Dr. Miranda, he ends up saying, Dr. Randa, and her response is just because throughout the series, a lot of times people would just, it was a different time. And a lot of times, even from the beginning of the series, when Colonel Shaw was looking to meet Dr. Mira, he was looking for like an older Japanese gentleman. He was not expecting the young Dr. Keiko Miranda, so he had a prejudgment, which he ends up pointing out, yeah, you probably just prejudged me as a gun-toting Neanderthal. And I mean, just the acknowledgement of just that humanity right there, I thought that was kind of powerful rather than pretending it's like, oh, we're all so high and mighty. It's like, we're human beings. We make snap judgments. Why? It's that just kind of seems like how we've adapted over the years. Universal truth number 6. Our minds automatically go to the worst possible place. So so Colonel Shaw's back there. He starts looking around a little while. And then we go over to Keiko, and Hiroshi is looking over his mom there. It's like, I never thought I would see her again and everything. And again, he was just like a wee lad at the time. And this Hiroshi Aranda, this is the father of both Kate from San Francisco and Kenshiro from Tokyo. And don't get me wrong, this series gets really, really weird. I mean, they touch into a lot of topics which people may not like, but I think it is a very human thing because that whole line, because we end up finding out that Kenshiro, that's how May got involved. Because at one point he was literally in season 1 just taking a picture of his gallery artwork and everything, and he happened to take May's picture. She asked him to delete it. And then they end up going out and they kind of start falling for each other. And so you end up finding out all the drama there. And May there actually gets hit up by, oh God, what is the character's name? She works for Apex. It's the actress that plays uh, Naomi Nagata. So Brenda Holland, I believe. Looks like. Yeah, it's. Wait, no, God, am I getting this? Oh, God, I feel like I'm terribly. Okay, so it looks like yeah, Brenda Holland, which is. Uh, yeah, so basically, she's one of the Apex researchers over there, and she hits up May, and apparently, her and May may or may not have actually had a relationship in and of themselves, and she basically offers her a job. It's like, but May's even like, yeah, she just wants to use my coding skills to get into oh God, Bill. Hold on, Godzilla. What is it? Godzilla versus Kong. Apex CEO. God. CEO. There we go. Walter Simmons. Okay. So basically, May's like, yeah. She just wants to use my code to help get back into the graces of Walter Simmons and everything from Apex Engineering. We do end up finding out that basically Apex really helped pay for most of the stuff there. Monarch, which is kind of like slightly coordinating, but the rescuing of the team and everything on Skull Island was provided by Apex funding because obviously it was valuable and or they just wanted somebody to a really pro coder to help them finish what may or may not be Mecha Godzilla for the following movie because this is still before the events of King of the Monsters. So after King of the Monsters, Ghidorah's whole that was Alpha Call and everything. Long story short, is basically the storm surrounding Skull Island ends up moving inshore. That's why they end up building the dome over it. And they're trying to keep Kong happy, but Kong ain't happy because you just put a king in a cage, and we end up finding out even more about what happens. So let's see where are we here. Let's see. There we go. Let's share this tab instead, so I can go without doing too many spoilers. So, long story short, is Kate doesn't want to leave Shaw behind. She's like, this dude literally was holding onto my hand and fell in here. He could have saved himself. I mean, that does also harken back to her grandmother and how both him and Bill end up losing grip on Keiko, and they seemingly lost her forever. She's been rescued. And now while she's there, Kate's like, we gotta go get Shaw back. And her dad's like, no, Kate, we don't know. It's like, I'm not asking your permission. I'm doing it whether you want to or not. He's like, you gotta get yourself killed, Kate. And she's like, well, come with me and make sure I don't. So eventually her dad's like, again, for plot purposes, of course they end up going. So Kenshiro ends up going with them as well. And then May ends up kind of distracting Tim at the consoles and everything, saying, wow, this is really rad. And Tim's like, yeah, this place is awesome and everything. And because he's a big nerd, he has total like star fatigue or star envy. He sees Dr. Keiko Dr. Keiko Miranda, and he's introducing himself, and he's like, oh, yes, Dr. Randa. And she's like, oh, I've been trying my entire life to get people to refer to me as doctor. Maybe some things have improved. Yeah, no, in some ways it has. It's like, no, you literally were the person to help create this whole agency. And then he's showing them her all like the satellite feeds, the artificial satellite. She's like, oh, like Sputnik. And it's like the reference points are like, yeah, kind of like Sputnik, just they did more advanced. And being a smart person, she's like, oh yeah, technology always advances really fast and everything. So it's like she might not know exactly what's going on, but she can kind of grok it. So eventually we have the whole team. They end up getting back together. And this is where Brenda basically left, offered May a job. And then May is talking with Kate, and kind of have a little bit of a shared moment. Yeah, it's kind of sweet there, and I don't know. I think they might like each other, and that just starts to get kind of weird because I'm like, wait a second, hold on, I'm sharing the wrong thing. Hold on. There we go. So basically, you have May and Kate chatting it up on the deck of Monarch Outpost 18, and I mean it's kind of sweet there, and they actually have some human moments, and I don't know. I'm thinking there might be a little bit of a spark between May and Kate, which oh, that totally complicates things. That seems we seem to be getting into Game of Thrones territory here because I'm like, wait a second, wasn't didn't her and Kate's half brother Kenshiro kind of have a thing? I'm like, what's going on here? I don't know. We'll see. Where are we? Okay. So as we can see, May here is distracting Tim as our 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 friends managed to commandeer a boat just right under everyone's noses, and they don't know as the sirens going off. They're just heading out, and they probably could have done a little bit more here for there because apparently, like, listen, it's the freaking storm. It's meant to protect Skull Island. Doesn't want people getting in. So they found like a little bit of a hole in the storm, which they probably should have elucidated on for maybe like a quick 10 or 15-second scene. Was it necessary? Do we really care about the humans that much? But yeah, they kind of got through the storm. They go back onto Skull Island. They're walking around, and they end up running into some creatures here. So you end up having oh no, that's the other creature. So we end up having let me swap to this tab while I actually find it. Okay, no, not that guy. That's the Arch Vulture. Okay, so here we go. So we first have this guy over here. We'll share in a second. Just gotta get up to the part. So they're going around, and all of a sudden, there's this little creature, and it's like it's looking around, and it's kind of got a horn, and you're like, oh my god, we don't want to see us. It's just kind of like got a butterfly anteater mouth, and then if you look right there, it's not shooting lightning. The little vile vulture, whatever they call it, is the thing actually shooting it. So basically, it stuns it, it swoops in, and then it breaks its neck. So it ends up being, yeah, this beautiful guy right here. This is pure nightmare fuel. Of course, he's looking for everybody. And at first, I thought, I'm like, wait a sec, he just killed the creature. He's obviously just doing it for prey. No. At first, you're like, oh god, it's looking for the humans. It's looking for a tasty snack because who isn't looking for a tasty snack? But at one point, we end up having. I thought it was just going to go for the creature, but no. It was killing the other creature, because it was competition. Why? Because it just wanted to go into the ground and get its little tasty grub friend. Why? Hold on. We got the little grub friend over here. Oh, there we go. This guy right here. So it flies down. It's terrifying, and then all it does is, as it's looking around, it just chomps into the ground and pulls up a delicious, tasty grub. Why? Takes a few chomps and then it flies away. Well, obviously, because it's slimy yet satisfying. I've learned that before. Of course, it's going to do that. And then it just flies away and they make their way along. And then eventually they end up running into a big sleeping monkey. So let's see, where are we here? So yeah, they end up running across a slumbering Kong, because Kong takes a nap, and as we saw from the previews, yeah, May steps on a branch. She steps on a branch. Kong rolls over. Kate literally pushes her out of the way to save her life, and then Hiroshi's just like, "Oh my god, my daughter just got smacked," but because plot armor and everything. As we see, no, right between the fingers. There's one thing Cotting is pretty good at. It's not hurting pretty girls. I mean, that just seems to be an underlying character theme, right? So we continue onward. Da, da, da. So here's Keiko. Here's Tim meeting Keiko, and she's so thrilled. And a lot of people like, oh my god, you're the OG Monarch and everything. And right around this point, they end up getting informed that yeah, somebody stole the ship. And a long story short is Monarch's like, listen, we already lost like 30 something people to Kong's attack. A whole bunch of folks are injured. We can't afford to waste more lives and go back. Well, until Hiroshi and a lot of the OG Monarch family decide to go to Skull Island, so of course they need to follow. Okay, this is our bartender sharing with Bill Rando what the heck was going on there. And eventually they're trying to reassemble the whole signal processing in order to help open up the rift. Okay. And as Hiroshi here says, it's like, listen, we tested this for a year under optimal conditions. These are not optimal conditions. It's like, what are you gonna do? It's like, listen, hey, we want to rescue Shaw. There are gonna be folks looking for us. We got to do this now. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen. Let's give it a shot. So eventually, they actually have to get the power grid back into place. And unfortunately, was it kid? Oh, I need to make sure I'm saying his name right. Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Cast. Let's start this tab instead. All right, here. Writer Kentaro, not Kenshiro. Apologies. And Tim, just Tim. That's all we need. It's Tim. He had a bad experience on a helicopter once. That was beautiful. It was beautiful when it was carrying season one reference when they're over in, I think, Egypt. And all of a sudden, it's like Godzilla starts rising. It's like, oh, pull up on the helicopter, pull up. A couple of blades hit Godzilla's fins over there. And very awkward crash that Tim ends up surviving. So they give a little bit of a shout out to that. Okay. So then we got Colonel Shaw going through here, and he ends up running into our boar friend. Our boar friend that Keiko had already shot once with an arrow to help save the Lieutenant Shaw. Immediately goes for his firearm. Unfortunately, his firearm is not there. But being a good military person, he's got a knife. He's got a small knife, but he's ready to fight the dang boar with a freaking knife. But right as that's happening, yep, they go back. Monarch ends up going back into the storm. Uh, Tim has a very bad experience talking about his time on helicopters and why he's very uncomfortable. Just a little brief thing over there. As we can see, Monarch's getting ready to save everybody. And Hiroshi is like, what happens if we don't get Shaw back and we get something very bad? But Kate ain't having none of that. She's like, Shaw saved me. He would do the same for us. Like her own grandmother's trying to like talk her out of it and everything. Yeah. Long story short is Kate presses the button. Yep. Kate presses the button. She opens the portal. And yes, then all quote unquote hell starts to break loose yeah. Okay. And then we get to the point where we end up seeing all the stuff for Titan X. What do we get? So hold on, I'm going there. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, bring it up again. Got to be respectful of copyright. Don't want to get copy struck, bro. Okay, so now we're in the cave. We're in the cave. The bartender's like, listen, people don't like you. You guys are gonna get yourselves in a lot of trouble. You might not leave here alive. Listen, if I show you the ancient stuff, you will leave, right? Don't stick around. And they all agree. Whether or not that's a lie or not, we'll have to see. All right. So we've got Titan X over here, which is basically viewed as their god. As we can see, it helps bring the fishes because they're so delish. Gotta go fishing. Um, Nobody tell Fizz. God, the last thing. She started a whole Sharknado because she wanted to cook some fish, and now it's don't tell her about the Titan. She'll try to catch it as a mount or something. Oh, silly VTubers. All right. But the legend is the folks of this village, they pray for the Grand Mara, for the great sea, for the great bountiful fishing harvest, and they believe that their god, their Titan X, will bring the Grand Mara. And apparently all the little other crustaceans and everything, they seem to like it because once that Titan gets summoned, woo. So you skip ahead. Everyone's trying to convince Kate to not do it. Don't do it, Kate. Don't press the button. But just like Lieutenant Stimpy, Kate pushes the button. Yep. She totally pushes the button. There we go. And she wakes Kong up. Yep. She ends up waking Kong up for the second time in like a day or two. It's like Kong is really ticked in this episode. So hold on. Let me go back over here. So this a little bit. Get up to the oh. Here we go. Yep. Kate pushes the button. She's the one that lets the genie out of the bottle. It's all Kate's fault. How dare you care about your Uncle Shaw? A lot of people care about Shaw. And it's I think they did a really good job here. So as we can see what ends up happening. Kong gets woken up. This is where the ripple and everything that goes out across Skull Island happened. Kong's like, you've got to be kidding me. Again? You're waking up a man in his own house, inviting unwanted guests a second time? No bueno. So, long story short, Access Monday, the fireworks go off. You can see the dang capsule. Shaw sees the capsule, and unfortunately, yeah, that capsule and that new opening and everything seem to wake up our plot point here. Titan X. Those that worship Titan X believe that she will bring the Grand Mara, the Great Water. So, long story short, she goes out there. She goes through the portal because, duh, that's what you do. Lieutenant Shaw gets himself into the thing, and we have a very alien-like encounter here where one of the little crabby dudes is inside with him, and yeah, he has to play. Hold on. Move over here. Actually, fine. All right, clip. Okay, so he starts flying. All right, here's a good little image. Okay, so as we can see, Titan X is going through the thing. We got Shaw flying around. He's gonna be totally safe, guys. It's gonna be totally safe. It's not like anything bad's going to happen while he's in there. Yeah. Isn't that right, Lieutenant Shaw? Everything is just peachy. It's not like you gotta go back on here. Back a little bit. Okay. Yep. So everything is obviously fine. Uh, uh, all right, we got the portal. Ah, here we go. So uh, let's get there we go. That's a good one. There we go. All right, yeah, one of those little creepy crawlies made it into the pod with Shaw, and he's all buckled up, and yeah, it's very alien-esque. It's like, I ain't gonna let you hug my face now. What's wrong with you? And it's there, it's got all the teeth, and it's kind of trying to stab it. He ends up getting some tools swinging around. He ends up dispatching it because he's Colonel Lieutenant Shaw. It's not gonna be done in so easily by a little piece of the plot so quickly. But he ends up fighting it, dispatching it. And long story short is yeah, Miet Titan. There's my Mac. Again, respectful of the IP. Okay. And now we got the we got the scene of Titan X making its appearance because, well, of course it can. So let's hop back over here. Titan X coming through the portal because that's what it does. And so we move ahead. People are trying to get out of there, and unfortunately, the one person that's known that does not make it is, yeah, assistant acting deputy director Natalia Verdugo. Spoilers: she don't make it, or at least she gets snapped up. She's the person that actually gets snapped up there. Uh, Tydex ends up making its escape, and oh jeez, wow, ends up making escape, and then Colonel Shaw actually does make his way back. He ends up defeating. Okay, this is kind of a good one. This is the moment after he ends up using a very sharp object to dispatch the little creepy crawly. I think that's a very good Kurt Russell look, and then we got the little monster splatter all around there. So I think that was a pretty good job there. I'm slightly curious about the exact cut he did. I perhaps should actually go back and rewatch. So Colonel Shaw ends up making it through. As we can see, he ends up popping back out. Oh no, actually, no, it's yeah, no, that's Keiko. I'm sorry. Wow, I can't tell ages. But long story short is Colonel Shaw ends up getting out, and right as he's getting out, let's go forward. Yep. They're like, all right, we gotta get Lee. Keiko is like beyond her stuff. It's like, oh my god, we're back in the real world together, Lee. And you got a very ticked off Kong right now. Is like, you guys are seriously doing this again? What the heck is wrong with you guys? You come into the giant monkey's house, you start making all this noise, you start waking me up, you're inviting people into my house that I don't want. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm sure that's a sentiment nobody here else has ever had to express before. But Kong does his thing. And then, of course, remember, Kong ain't just a random animal. It's He's actually looking around. He's like, what the heck is making all this noise? So he's actually looking. He's looking. He identifies it. And he ends up smashing it. Because that's what Kong does. He smashes it. It closes the portal. Totally fine. Totally fine. Well, except for the whole. Hold on, let me swap that. I gotta get the right frame. So, alright. So Kong immediately smashes the thing, the portal closes, and then Kong beats his chest, and then he's like, "What the who the heck did you let into my house, you fools?" So he immediately just starts running after Titan X because Titan X literally just got there. So it's like Kong's like, "Smash this, close the interdimensional door," and it's like, "Who the heck did you just let in here?" And then Kong gives chase because it's his island. And F you, crazy calamari Titan. Get the heck out of here. That may have been a little cruel, but I digress. Welcome, Nuno. How we doing, guys? Welcome, Bone, as well as Brian. Yes, yes. There is a little bit of Godzilla in each and every one of us. Maybe more so than others. And allegedly in the upcoming Godzilla another anime where a kid ends up being Godzilla and stuff. I'm like, isn't that every little kid's dream? That was my dream growing up. That's why I kicked around the pine cones pretending they were boulders, like in Godzilla versus Megalon. That was very influential to me because as a kid, I was totally a scaly and stuff. Now, some of us grow out of it. Some of us it takes a little bit longer, but I digress. Um, all right, so let's go back to our tab so we can respect a little bit of copyright. Kong is giving chase. Everybody gets to the choppers. At one point in the choppers, uh, they end up finding out that okay, so number one right here, Tim involves the helicopter pilot. That he's like, where's deputy director like uh, director Verdugo? And Tim's like, she's gone. She's gone. Yep, she got swiped up by Titan X. She's at least gone to them. Is that the total end of her? Well, looks like Tim's just got a promotion. Exactly, Bone. You gotta get to the chopper. If Arnold's taught us anything, you get to the dang chopper. And hope you don't get knocked out of the sky by Godzilla fins or something. But I digress. Back over there. Okay, and then we end up cutting to everybody else. They're on the choppers, and then we got a nice little part here where Shaw is turning to the Keiko, and he's like, "You probably should have left me." Why? They managed to save him. Fantastic. You just woke up like some culture's ancient titan god of the ocean. Yeah, cause and effect, really. Oh wait, isn't that the episode name? Seems quite fitting. It's like, hey, we wanted to do a thing. We can blame Kate. Why? Because she pushed the button. She literally pushed the button. Why? Because I paused on a frame of her pushing the button. She had also in one of the previews it says that yeah, she literally was the one that let the genie out of the bottle. Let me see. Brian's commenting one episode of Regis and Kathy Lee, one episode of Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, one episode of Godzilla versus Megalon. After them, that's where the 3 p.m. cartoons would start. King Caesar. See, the original King Caesar is pretty awesome because he literally could absorb Mechagodzilla's ray and like shoot it back and everything, which is a pretty amazing thing. But then again, King Caesar didn't do well to like missiles and isn't quite the tank Godzilla is. So that's why they had to team up versus Mechagodzilla. And then since Godzilla power leveled, that's why after he was able to take on an upgraded Mechagodzilla with rotating missiles, aka the hand spun around, they rotated, and they made the missiles look bigger. And Titanosaurus. Why? Because Godzilla is a literal G. Okay. So we've got Colonel Shaw apologizing over there. It's like, yeah, you guys probably should have left me. And as we hide, and then we've got a very, very angry Kong here. As we can see, right. Oh, Tim's looking down, and yeah, Kong's looking back up at them. He's like, "You're the worst guest I've ever had. You woke me up twice, and you invited intruders into my house," which actually that was one of the points a little bit before that. While Keiko was reviewing why they couldn't go back and get Shaw, uh, the still alive at the point Deputy Director Verdugo said, "Well, we have footage of the attack and everything." And as they were reviewing the footage of the attack, Keiko quickly noticed something that others did not. During the whole fray and everything, she noticed what appeared to be a small creature that people missed that had a little bit of a shell, kind of like that thing she saw in South America many years ago on the wall that appeared to be a fossil, but it appeared to be alive right there. And if you look really close, that actually appeared to be what Kong was attacking there. It was the fact that you opened up a portal to his house and you let in some unwanted guests. So apparently, Kong was not necessarily attacking the humans, so to speak. He was attacking the little creepy curlies that the humans let in. Now, the humans happened to be in the way of the gigantic primate smashing the stuff, which unfortunately led to a lot of human fatalities in this show. But Kong is pissed. And then he ends up chasing after our friend there. So let me go back. Let's go back a moment, and then we end up getting the tail end of Titan X running into the ocean, being pursued by Kong. So as we can see here, Titan X is piecing out over there. Kong is running into the ocean, and it's like, all right, get the heck off my island. Okay, Titan X got off the island. Now, I'm sure a sea creature that ends up getting referred to in the same sentence as Grand Mara. It's not like being dehydrated or locked in a mountain of stone and acts as Monday for God knows how many years. Might slightly weaken you. I don't know, is it like a giant sea monkey where you just add water and it starts to super power up and everything? I don't know. That's where it's going to start to get that bioluminescence. That's what's going to start happening. I've heard people use certain words like propulsion and everything. And again, very careful dialogue, not to give things away. I ain't under no NDA, so at least that I know. Yes, rock and roll. Megalodon. I love myself some Megalodon. As long as I'm not being eaten. I have or I at least had a Megalodon replica tooth. Stuff was like this big. I'm like, yeah, someone's got a tooth that big. Yeah, when it's getting around the size of your own face, it's like probably don't want to be in the jaws of that. That's probably a very bad day. So, long story short, Titan X escapes and everything. What's going to happen? I don't know. We end up having Lieutenant Shaw back. All the only trade-off is yeah. Apparently we pissed off Kong. He chased it off the island, and then this would because the way a lot of times you see trailers and stuff, they'll mix up different things. So here's my random fan theory right now. So, random fan theory. We see Kong actually throwing a punch at one point. So now whether that was clipped or whatnot, I'm going to assume the Titan's going to do its thing. The humans trying to get Godzilla involved. Godzilla gets involved. Godzilla is still the purveyor of balance in the Titanverse. So I think he's going to kick Titan X's butt. Titan X is going to be running to try to go back to whence it came and run into a Kong. And that's where it'll probably meet its end of some sorts, probably following the, I'm going to guess, the Skull Island anime, which a lot of people apparently kind of thought was woke or something like that because of like one random line that people clipped out of context. But when you put everything in context, that line was, you had some girl saying, oh, well, boys are useless or something. Now, to put that into context, the girl saying this is not a Mary Sue. When you find out this gal's backstory, you end up realizing that it's like, all right, quick spoiler, how she met her best friend. It's like, oh, our fathers killed each other. She says that completely a matter of factly, and you're like, whoa. And they actually go into the story, and this is actually kind of touching and everything. It's like, I thought it was a pretty good series. Hey, I binged it. So I'm just saying, just be hesitant. Occasionally, if somebody says something is woke or a racist or all these different things, they might have a personal agenda. I know I do. I like kaiju and everything, and I want to see some more cool stuff. So let's see. What else do we have in the episode? Okay, yeah, that was literally the end of the episode, and then the rest is basically credits and everything. So, yes, that is true. There is the new Spino, the horny one. Yes, I would the large horn on top of its head. I'm not sure if that makes it any better, but I remember the TNT Godzilla marathons. Those were fun. Actually, to be fair, the Meg. I still need to watch the second movie. I think I like the Meg. I thought that was a pretty dang good movie. It's just slight spoilers. Okay, major spoilers here. Major spoilers. If you don't want to hear part of the Meg, anytime you can have something. Actually, this was an ode to Jaws. I think Jaws. Yeah, Jaws. In the original Jaws movie, they end up having some people get killed by sharks. And it's like, okay, they eventually catch a tiger shark. It's a pretty good sized tiger shark. And it's like, yeah, no, this is rare in these waters. It's a quote unquote man eater and stuff. It makes sense. Scientists at the time's like, yeah, the bite radius on this tiger shark is not the same bite radius that we saw on, unfortunately, the pieces of the victims that remained. Suggesting that there was a larger fish available. Spoiler from like 40 years later. Yeah, there was a much bigger shark, aka a like 20 plus foot great white shark. Ginormous. I think in the movie, maybe they had to be up to like 28. It's like the maximal extent of what we believe a great white shark could be. And the Meg, they paid homage to that. It's like, oh my God, we finally defeated and we've hoisted up the ginormous megalodon that did all these crazy things. And then somebody points out, it's like, this bite radius is smaller than the last one. And you're like, WTF, mate? Very shortly after that, they find the other Meg, which coincidentally jumps out of the water, bites the shark that they already had, goes over, and capsizes their entire boat. So, yeah, you really need a bigger boat. So, yeah, that leads into all different. Yeah, that was fun. I mean, new Spinosaurus. I'm just like, I guess it seems kind of like a weird thing, but then it's like, well, Styracosaurus or whatever, that kind of weird looking Triceratops. Apologies to my dino friends. They apparently be things. Water is a fascinating thing, my friend. It's like, yeah, we're like 70% water. We tend to go the path of least resistance. It's weird, actually, as far as planetary bodies. And okay, large scale planetary or above bodies, Earth is actually the densest thing in the solar system. Like the sun itself is about the density of water. Seems like a crazy thing. You're like this super hot plasma, but apparently that's the effect when you get a whole bunch of stuff coming over and you have the observed gravitational effect, and it seems to start getting really hot. It's like 1.4. It's like root 2 the density of water, approximately. A couple of decimal places there. Which I didn't know until I heard my friend Shiloh mention that he had a paper published in Nature on interesting effects of water a while back. But The interesting thing, actually, to be fair, a lot of the early metric system was based upon the density of water because at just under about 4 degrees Celsius at standard atmospheric pressure, um, water is extraordinarily close to 1 gram per cubic centimeter. That means 1,000 liters of water is really dang close to 1 cubic meter. I think Cavendish uses the density of water in his gravitational measurements as the actual unit basis. Newton didn't actually, to my knowledge, use particular units. He's just like m1 times m2 divided by r squared. Why? I don't know. One would have to consult God in order to figure it out. He's like, I don't postulate the mechanism. I'm just saying this is the thing. Um, so it is interesting because a lot of early stuff, like the grave was the original kilogram, and that was based upon a cubic deciliter of water. So what is a deciliter? Well, it's a kilogram. You need 1,000 grams, so you need 10 cubic centimeters by 10 cubic centimeters by 10 cubic centimeters. Okay, so kind of like that thing, at least when I was in the early grades, when you're going out of count, it's like, you get a 10 by 10 roll, that's 100 things. You get another blocks going up of that 10 by 10 row. Okay, now you're going to have 1,000. Now you're going to have 1,000 grams. You have your kilogram. That's why 1 deciliter of water was 1 kilogram. Also, hypothetically, a lot of my crazy, weird, coincidental calculations work if you use the density of water or you set literally to 1 within the current metrics, which is a weird thing, which that literally insinuates there's a preferred basis of our unit system, and we just happen to get it incredibly right. What are the chances of that? Probably up there with the statistical chances, according to some folks, of how we got here, because we just happen to have some cosmic fluctuations, whatever those may or may not be. Everything just kind of came into existence. And then we have this all this nucleosynthesis, all this jazz. We have the coming together of different stuff and things to form stars, galaxies, planets. We just happen to be within the Goldilocks zone. We just happen to have a very large sized moon that apparently came about when some arbitrary object that may or may not have been God's Taya smashed into this, threw up a whole bunch of stuff. So we have a disproportionately large moon compared to other planetary bodies in the solar system that we may or may not have shared an actual magnetic field from. We happen to have Big Brother Jupiter catching a lot of the stray things there. And we happen to have liquid water on our surface in the zone that's just right. And something, lightning strikes, crazy stuff. Life came into being. Fast forward, simple organisms, and then we have humans like you and us. So I believe the chances of us being here are literally a statistical miracle. Take that as you want. Statistics are a thing. It doesn't have to be likely. It can be extremely unlikely. But if it's unlikely, is that going to happen? Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Hey, what's going on, Tyler? How you doing, my friend? I caught the tail end of your stuff last night. No, we're just I'm just going into my personal love of monsters and stuff like that. Monarch Legacy of Monsters, that's the Zilla Kong spin-off series for the Monsterverse. They just premiered season 1. Excuse me, season 2, the first episode of season 2 last evening. So I figured I would just talk about this and just kind of go through what was going on. Again, was careful. Fair use, fair use, fair use. I only showed still frames. We want to be respectful of copyright, but no, I was just going through that, and then we just started talking about water and how it was part of the original. I mean, we're mostly made up of water. When we look for life as we know it, what are we looking for? We're looking for liquid water. Does life necessarily need to take this form? Would it be more logical that maybe silicon would be like a base form or something? I don't know. I just seem to be this carbon-based life form that happens to be mostly made of water, which coincidentally, I've heard the term that Mother Earth is a silica-based life form, even though it seems to be mostly rock and nickel, and, or excuse me, iron and nickel and stuff like that, which is why we happen to be the most dense, large object in the solar system. I mean, the sun is only about the density of water. We're just talking about like 1.4 grams per centimeter. And water, coincidentally, at our standard atmospheric temperature, is about 1 gram per centimeter, which is very convenient. Now, should we use water as, because water is literally a constant of nature? It's a molecular constant, it's a chemical element. And we must remember every molecule and element sings its own song. That's why spectroscopy works, because we can analyze the different fine structure between these different orbitals and stuff like that. And we're able to determine what's there. So, like, you'll see this thing, it's like, oh my God, this thing is older than the universe. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Maybe we need to adjust some parameters. But the fascinating thing is when you actually look at it, you're like, okay, maybe redshift says 30 something. Is it? Initial estimates. We seem to get confused. We need to use spectroscopy to be able to actually identify with high confidence the actual distances. Why is that a thing? Hey, I'm not a spectroscopist. I'm not an astronomer. I'm just told by a lot of really smart folks that the things that look extraordinarily far away might be far away, but just not as far as we initially thought. Why might that be the case? That is an interesting question. Where are we here? Yes, we have to be careful. Klaatu Barata Nictu. Again, I am not fluent in Necronomicon. I'm just a dude on the internet. Uh, Nuno, you bring up a very interesting point. Water is fascinating. It, and again, if one were to posit that water was the correct system in order to which to gauge our realm, one would expect it to be this fascinating thing that we've known about for a long time, that we're still discovering all these literally seemingly magical things about. Can I say that is not the case with water? Well, water is a very fascinating thing. Seems like all these different stages of ice, all these different stages of water that we're still here. I mean, that's how our microwave works. Why? Because we tune it to water. Because if you get some moisture in it, we start to just jiggle those arms. That's why it heats from the inside, kind of goes outside, and we can heat up our tasty snacks. You can also burn our tasty snacks. You want to be careful. Apparently, that's also why we can literally have be generating microwaves as long as we have the properly spaced little mesh on it. Totally fine. Wavelengths don't fit through. I mean that just seems to be the most fascinating thing. It's like, does it necessarily mean it's good for us? I don't know. Let's see. On the cloud, alcohol flows through the universe that kills bacteria. Oh, okay, that's. I was gonna say we could send soap out there, but then soap is mostly just was fat and stuff like that. Da, da, da. Nuno also brings up the very interesting thing. Apparently, even with spectroscopy, we have identified what appears to be large amounts of H2O in very early universe, which seems strange because your thought is, well, the universe, we haven't had time to make all these chemical elements now. What's going on here? And I think as a cosmologist, I believe Eva Miranda has said, things are going to get weird, and they're going to get even more weird. And oh no, we may have to rethink some of our cosmology. How dare the James Webb start breaking things as we know it? God, we haven't hasn't been this bad since the last time. Like, we got a brand new super telescope like Hubble. Oh God, it's breaking our models. Accelerated? What are you talking about? What the heck is going on there? That doesn't make any sense. Maybe we need to adjust things a little bit. Maybe there's some models that haven't been greatly considered that might explain a little bit more with less. Or maybe you need to posit a particular geometry or field configuration that may better help explain. I'm very biased. Why? Because I presented general models and stuff. Uh, and again, very zeroth level here. It's like, all right, I'm just going to assume playing with a toy model that well, if we got minimum limits, maybe there are maximum limits. What is the maximum? Ultimately, that's where something like water would come into play because it's going to be whatever your base unit is. Now, because you need a midpoint to flip. If you're going to go down so low, if you're going to do one over that, well, where are you placing the marker? Are you going to place it very close to the Planck length? Are you going to place it like parsecs? Because that's going to flip your maximal amount. So I just play around with just the unit ones that we have here, and it seems to work amazingly well because you go down. If you assume there was a minimum length, just do meters squared over that, and you get a maximum length. It's like 10 to the 34 meters. So, like, about 8 orders of magnitude greater than the observable universe. Is that why it looks pretty dang flat? Appears to be some very minor positive curvature, then that seems to insinuate that there might be a quote unquote closed universe. What that means. I mean, I've postulated, I've talked if you want to look at eternal cyclic cosmology or whatever crazy stuff that I promoted or present posters on, you can feel free to search the channel. That we're just mostly talking about Godzilla and just other silly things. Question about neutrinos flowing. I believe neutrinos have handedness. So basically, you'll have neutrinos, you have anti-neutrinos. But as far what is it? They'd neutrinos appear to be like left-handed for some reason. There seems to be like if you start looking up like CPT symmetry, charge, parity, time. Neutrinos appear to be primarily left-handed because I know this was one of the big things for Professor Neil Turok with their minimal lambda CDM model. They had proposed that the dark matter candidate could be a sterile neutrino, so basically like a right-handed neutrino or something, which apparently is allowed by the standard model. We just haven't detected it. And then I've seen more recent things where apparently that has been ruled out with high confidence. Maybe it is there. Who knows? But apparently that has been ruled out. So what is the dark matter, or as Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson might say, the effect of dark gravity, whatever that means. So it's kind of, again, I like the term dark mass effect because, well, one, it seems a little bit more accurate because we're saying it's dark matter. Are we sure it's actually matter or it's a dark mass effect? I've randomly put out their ideas. I'm just like, oh, maybe this is a lot more neutrinos. Now, are there that many neutrinos to account for this? Might there be some weird effect going on once we have a collective system on the galactic scale that seems to give the appearance of what is dark matter? Who knows? Maybe we'll just find the axions tomorrow. I don't know. I'm just a crazy person insinuating stuff and things on the internet. Anyway, I think that's, and again, I have my own wild speculations. I'm like, do we even need inflation? To be fair, I think the number one thing of inflation is if you're going to posit a beginning of something, how do you overcome the effect of gravitation? If you're basically, if you're at Planck density, Planck temperature, how do you overcome it? You'd either need to suppress it for a period or have a little bit more of an oomph to get away from it. So I think that's, for me personally, that's kind of the best explanation. The cosmic fluctuations or the seeming anisotropy of the cosmic microwave background. And again, it's I I know Anastasia and Shiloh and some other folks. I think oh god, what is it? Patrick. Patrick have cast some shade on the CMB, saying, "Oh, maybe it's a signal from Earth." It's like, Really? Weren't you asking like I remember some question, why they calibrating it by pointing at the edge of the earth? I'm like, to account for the signal for water because they're like smart people and that's what you would do. Okay, well maybe it was spiked. Well, then we had Planck and we got those things over like L was it L2, L5, whichever Lagrange point it is. I think it's L2. Uh okay, well there doesn't seem to be any water there. Well, they didn't measure the thermal stuff. They were measuring more like the peaks and valleys. So it's like, well, what were they measuring? It's maybe there's something there, but it's just if you're gonna say that, you need to go through the whole conversation. That's the biggest gripe from them. It's like, listen, if you're gonna sit down with somebody like Professor Keating, who's who's under the general pretense of we're gonna talk about your book and your work and maybe some material science, just be honest. Just be like, hey, we're a little sus about Kirchhoff's law here. We think that rather than don't say composite, just be like, we're concerned because if water can provide a black body spectrum, could there be interference based upon these conditions? Just lay it out. It's I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I see literature going back and forth. I find literature where it's like, oh, we've never done this on Earth. It's like I just laid out the argument between some people I like with a more recent chat GPT, and it found me a 2015, 2016 experiment that appears to achieve the black body spectrum. Now, appears. Even the chat review was like, no, there are some points. Maybe this is a gray body, but it did involve some extraordinarily extreme circumstances, which are very difficult to do here on Earth. It was for only a very small volume. But then again, it's like, well, isn't that kind of what they say? Like, if you were to have some effects of some very uniform but not quite perfect temperature across the cosmos, it would need to come from a very hot, dense, extremal state. I didn't think that was the greatest argument that they had there. Um, Again, that's a personal opinion. You can believe what you want. I'm just gonna like look at the evidence. I'm like, I'm pretty sure they were measuring something. But to get back to the point is, do you need inflation? Little anisotropes? I mean, well, if neutrinos have a preferred direction, what if we just did like the simplest thing? What if we just assumed that, I don't know, well, if pretty much most things in universe we see rotating, what if there was a little bit of angular momentum built into our realm? 'Cause I hear some things where it's like, well, if we had a slowly rotating universe, we could account for what's going on. We could account for this apparent increase in dark energy as we go back. And then I look at that, I'm like, okay, but wasn't that the whole problem with like the whole Gödel's solution to the Einstein equations? Because you're almost doing kind of like a trefoil loop around, and it may, quote unquote, if you're going fast enough, allow you to go back into. I hear the slow rotating universe, but then I take there was it 580, 540, whatever is gig a year for a universe to fully rotate. You just when basically if you just do the standard circle equation, like take the radius of the observable universe, multiply it by 2 pi. Guess how long it takes to take that rotation, or excuse me, the velocity you're traveling at. Looks a lot like the speed of light. And this was it. And again, maybe I'm sure I got something wrong. I'm sure I wasn't calculating in some bait or something like that. But again, zeroth level approximation. I'm basically getting the number you say for a complete rotation. But at the extreme end of our observable universe, you're still traveling at the speed of light. So don't we run into the same paradox, or was it even a paradox? I don't know. That's that's about all I can really say on that. Let's see, where are we? I should probably watch more of those things. It's like there's okay, I'm not gonna lie. What one of my guilty pleasures right now, a lot of people talk about like AI slop and stuff. There's occasional channels out there that I think actually do a really good job. I can tell it's an AI voiceover and stuff, but again, at least for me, the sleepy scientist, um, Just a 3-hour thing with surprisingly accurate takes, and it will lay out things that I haven't heard before. The things I've heard before, it usually actually has the correct caveats, and I'm just want to be put to sleep by like a very slow, drawn, melodic voice. I don't want to listen to myself because I'm very grady and everything. I know that, but excuse me. I talk too much. If you couldn't tell, but yeah, it's I like at least if I'm going to wind down, I'll either listen to just random things on general relativity, like soft spoken and ASMR channel or something like that, or just a whole bunch of things. And occasionally I'll wake up and I'll be like, "Oh my god, they actually added the caveat there." Um, also, if you move to 1.5 atmospheric pressures, water there's a range where it does become precisely 1 gram per centimeter. So we wouldn't want to be Earth biased either, but you can also make the argument the triple point of water because that would be a universal wherever you go, and that's like 0.9998 ish grams per cubic centimeter. I spent a lot of time going down some weird water holes and stuff like that, or like you can do all. Okay, here's a real quick fun one. This is just like the crate. This is one of this, and again, I was looking for this, so let's we'll do a simple calculation. That's all we need. So might be interesting. It's like, oh, let's take some all some mass all elements. Okay. So we're going to sum the mass of all elements for the periodic table. Okay. Gives you a number. What happens when we do 7 times mass water? This was a crazy thing that I just kind of looked at. I'm like, oh, look, 137. Long story short is it's showing it's a reciprocal use right now, and to be fair, it's saying relative total. I think if we do that, okay. Long story short is it actually holds for another decimal place or so. So to our uncertainty for the relative molecular mass of water, because it's like 8. So basically, if you just take this in kilograms, we go back to. Oh, we can just go back to this guy. That many atomic mass units. Wolfram Alpha does a little conversion for us. Boom, 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 boom. I may have done this calculation a couple of times just because I'm looking at it. I'm like, and again, why is it 7? Is that a heap of water? At least the error seems to start here. So you get like 137.0. If it was 3, okay, so it runs. There's some uncertainty in the total mass of different elements. Long story short is this number ends up being between about 3 and 4. The fine structure constant, its inverse is fine structure constant. The inverse is 137.035999. And we argue about it. So I'm like 137.035999, 137.4. The uncertainty comes in here. I'm like, I mean, that's just a weird piece of numerology. It's like, why does about 7, the mass of 7 molecules of water seem to yield the fine structure constant when divided into the sum total of all the individual elements? Maybe it's water all the way down, or I'm just a crazy person looking for crazy relationships, because that's exactly what I was doing. I cannot say. But that was just a fun little thing there. Yeah, it's what new species we are. Yes, yes. It's people are trying all different types of things, and it's like I don't know. Are we going to end up with Wally? Listen, I don't know. Do we have to? Are we just going to have our screens in front of us as we're eating delicious ice cream, and as all our robots are going to go around do all the things that humans are going to do? We're just all going to get extraordinarily heavily obese and not be able to actually do anything for ourselves. Maybe. I mean, I cried at Wally. It was a very sad movie. I mean, it was so adorable. It was like Short Circuit with less nightmare fuel. But I've been rambling on for over an hour and a half, and we finished talking about Godzilla. So that's all I got for right now. Any folks in the greater kaiju community that if they would like to go check this out at all, take part of this, I'd love to have some chats. Again, don't like this content. This isn't going to be a normal thing. Don't don't think about subscribing because again, this is kind of like a occasional thing. Not doing it that much. It just happens to be tickling my fancy. Don't spread this around. God, imagine people giving their opinions on the internet. But yes, yes. G fans for life, Brian. You got it. So that said, take care, everybody. It's a wacky and wild world out there, but here's hoping for a better tomorrow and may Godzilla guide our path. Peace out, everybody.